Hello, everyone, and welcome to the virtual Meet the Grad Alumni and Industry Panel for Chemical and Mechanical Engineering and Aviation. My name is Julie Farnan, and I'm a co-op specialist with Mohawk College. It is my pleasure to be your host and moderator for today's Chemical Engineering and Biotechnology panel discussion. Thank you to the Mohawk students and recent graduates joining us virtually today. We hope you enjoy hearing about the career journeys of our panelists and their thoughts on how job seekers can engage in the current market. Before we begin our discussion, I'd like to introduce the alumni panelists. Today we have with us Holly Glenn. Maybe Holly, you can raise your hand. Thank you, Holly. Holly Glenn graduated from the Chemical Engineering program in 2020. She works at a nuclear electric generation company, Bruce Power, as a protection safety technician. Our next panelist is Shelby Hinchberger, who graduated from Biotechnology in 2016. Shelby is a sorting laboratory technician at ST Genetics Canada. We are also joined by Tabitha Morera. Tabitha is a 2017 graduate of the Biotechnology program, and she is now a research and development chemist at Sherwin-Williams, a powder coating plant in Grimsby. Ahmad Musa is a 2007 graduate of chemical engineering. He currently works as a production planner at Whitebird, a distributor and manufacturer of corrugated solutions, packaging, sanitation, and safety supplies. And last but not least, we have Samantha Wadowich. Samantha graduated from chemical engineering program in 1999. She is a certified Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt and professor at Mohawk College in the McKeel School of Business. A big thank you to all of our panelists for taking time today to share your experiences with our students. We look forward to hearing more about your career paths and lessons learned along the way. We will start by asking our panelists a few questions and leave time around 5:15 for students to ask their questions. I would like to start the panelist discussions with the question, what are the soft skills in your profession that have helped you succeed, and have you pursued additional education and training throughout your career? So if someone wants to maybe start us off.
I'll start off.
Thank you, Samantha.
So definitely, the soft skills are very important and often, overlooked. We certainly need to develop some thick skin as we go into our new careers after graduation. And we also have to be, very open and aware to, to learn and to receive constructive feedback from folks. I think that the whole concept of emotional intelligence and exploring emotional intelligence, doing things such as some of the personality profiles like DISC analysis or Myers-Briggs. These are all tools that help you learn a lot more about yourself, but also how to interact with others, because you're going to meet a whole bunch of different people when you get into the working world. And just like group assignments in college, sometimes they're not pleasant to get through. But the reality is when you're working full time, you have to learn how to work with these individuals for a lot longer than just a semester. So being able to reflect. I know myself personally, I do like a SWOT analysis on myself regularly. And I know that students are familiar with that. Every year I do a check-in on that and use that to help fuse what type of education I need, because it should be a continuous pursuit. I'll let someone else talk.
Thank you, Samantha. That was a great start.
Yeah, I think also when it comes with experience, I mean, you're going to pick up leadership qualities, communication skills, critical thinking, analysis, planning. So I think these things sometimes just happen naturally if you get yourself involved. Some people, they just want to go to work and go home. Other people, they invest themselves in the company or the field that they're in. So Yeah, soft skills, I think once a person picks those skill up, you can actually use it across different industries. So you're not specifically working in your own, like, for example, I worked in chemical for 11 years. Now I'm in corrugated, which has nothing to do with chemicals. But what got me to transition smoothly is the soft skills.
Mhm.
So when you can uh, analyze and critique a problem, solve it, time management, all these skills can be applied, and it doesn't matter when you manufacture, whether it's paper, chemicals, machines, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think also, especially because so many jobs now that we're doing so many Teams and Zoom meetings and stuff like that, you have to be able to manage your time and organize and communicate really effectively. Otherwise, it can kind of just be a mess. But I also agree that it does come with experience and it takes time. And eventually, you do gain a lot more confidence in yourself and your soft skills, because one of the biggest things is it's your soft skills that set you apart from the next person. So a lot of people have similar or the same kind of education, but it's your soft skills and it's who you are as a person that will set you aside from somebody else.
So if I could just piggyback on what Tabitha said is in teaching co-op, I'm always telling the students, like you have this technical background in chemical or bio that is amazing and that's great, but that at the same time, the soft skills are so important, like working with your team. And Ahmad said, your time management and your organizations, and especially now more than ever where we've had to pivot due to COVID and we're all online. So you need to be working more in teams, I find, and be adaptable to, working in teams online. Like we were just talking about it before we let all the students in and how COVID has changed the professional landscape, but also brings a lot of advantages to it as well. So thank you. So the second part of the question is, have you pursued additional education and training throughout your career? Does anyone want to highlight anything that they've done?
I could start that one.
Sure.
So with chemical engineering, it really branches on a bunch of different topics. So while I did my co-op, it was a requirement that you complete your 4th class operating certificate. So that basically, to be an operating engineer, you have to do 2 exams and you have to gain STEAM time. So while I was on my co-op, I did both my 4-month and my 1-year co-op at Petro-Canada Lubricants in Mississauga. So you are working with STEAM. It is a refinery. So I studied on my own time while working during my co-op, and I did the exams. I gained the STEAM time while I was working there. My boss signed off on it, and at the end I had a certificate as well, which was absolutely phenomenal because it really sparked how I knew that I wanted to be an operator. So without that experience, I don't think I really would have been able to say if that was the right fit for me. But and we actually take we take a little bit of biotechnology in chemical engineering. And there is a water treatment certificate that you can get from the Ontario Water Wastewater Certification of Ontario organization.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically give you an operator in training designation. And if you were to choose a career in water treatment, wastewater management, anything like that, usually these are a requirement. So having that operator in training certificate it's a huge thing for employers because they can see that you're willing to build off of that information. You've gone out of your way to study those concepts on your own time, and you're willing to move forward to like a level 1 or a level 2.
And then, so personally for me, I've actually started taking online degree courses through Queen's University. And my company's actually paying for a portion of the tuition as well. And they also are starting to do, basically, some companies, depending on if the training or some of the things that you are interested in, if they see that you're interested, a lot of places are willing to put the money into additional training to bring you up to that next step in your career. So we're actually also, we do a lot of Six Sigma training as well. So this coming year, I think I'm doing my yellow belt training.
Excellent.
So
Yeah.
I'd like to jump, oh, sorry, go ahead, Ahmed, you go ahead.
No, I was just saying same thing about along that the company that I worked with previously, they had a huge emphasis on safety and quality
Mhm.
and lean manufacturing. So yeah, something like being a 5S certified operator, Lean Six Sigma, go green belt, yellow belt, to go all the way up. You know, even like safety, like if you get a safe start certificate so that you can apply it to the workforce. Yeah, those kind of the things like the company, like if there are people that are interested, they will have you become the champion of those. You get certified, and then you bring it back to your workforce, and then you share that knowledge and apply it as well in your work environment.
As
So I was,
well,
oh,
so-
sorry.
sorry.
I was lucky enough to, with my first job out of college, after about 5 years in the role that I was in, the company decided that they were going to go Six Sigma. And so I got my Six Sigma start fairly early in my career. And it has actually dominated my career in terms of you know, achieving green belt, then black belt, and then finally master black belt. I definitely would recommend that, especially now. I think that because, you know, lean is really focused on the process piece and improving processes for efficiency, where Six Sigma is more focused on utilizing data to drive decision making. Now that we're entering such a different time where processes are being reconfigured, and we're needing to utilize data to make decisions, to make quantum improvement in our processes, it's a very relevant skill set. In fact, if you just went and Googled or went into any of our job search places and typed in, you know, Lean Six Sigma and your dream job, I guarantee you will find so many organizations are looking for that certification. And Mohawk College actually does offer you know, courses throughout their continuing education program for certification within a reasonable period of time at a very low cost. So certainly check that out if folks are interested in expanding. It really makes a big difference on your resume.
Shelby,
I was going to say,
Okay.
sorry,
No, no, I was
going
just
to
gonna say,
mention that as well as external training, a lot of workplaces have internal training. So if there's something that you think you can go out and learn that will help you in your career on your own, is definitely, like, it's favorable. But a lot of companies have internal training that you can do, or that they require for you to move forward or move sideways, even just separate positions, separate areas of the company. I know for myself, there's levels. There's level 1, level 2, level 3, and you on your own can make your decision if you want to proceed with that, proceed with the training, move to the next step, move to a different sector. And a lot of training internally happens that way, and a lot of job movement and job growth, as well as, like I said, learning externally. But yeah, a lot of it, I find jobs now are really specific in these industries too. So it's hard to get a general like education that will kind of be relevant across industries. So that's why I think they're offering more internal training and more internal courses that they specialize in. And if you're working somewhere, it's nice to look into that or to see if they offer something along those lines. So then you can grow in your own company as well.
Great. Thank you. That was a very
Yep.
well-rounded answer. Thank
Yep. One last point.
you. Oh, sorry.
Yep. I'm sorry. The last speaker, she did really well in that she said with companies and internal training. In my company that I work for, which is Dofasco, I was able to take advantage, right, of these trainings that have been offered in-house. And because of that, I was able to move up 4 levels now within the company because of those training. So originally I started as I started in technology, and now I am up to a manager. So the FASCO have some really good training that is involved, so that if an employee wants to move up or as we may say, to climb the corporate ladder, it's some great training in-house that they can take it in order to boost their styles.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Earl. And thank you for being with us tonight. Great answers, everyone. I'm going to jump to the next question just because I'm mindful of the time. So the next question is, what resources should new graduates use to find work in the field? So connecting with people, places, anything that you would highlight for new grads?
I would highlight there's obviously a lot of recruitment websites that we're always like known for. Like Indeed's a very, very good one, but definitely networking, knowing people, putting yourself out there, having the conversations, kind of just getting your name out there is a great way. A lot of jobs nowadays can be through word of mouth, like, hey, I know somebody who's looking for this. So always put yourself out there. One tip that I have that actually really, really helped me as well is even when I wasn't searching for a job, or even now when I'm not searching for a job, I still kind of go through those recruitment websites and just see what is out there to be offered. Because a lot of the time when you're looking for a job, there's not maybe a job available. So I like to go on these websites and kind of keep a mental bank of companies that I might be interested in, because as well as the recruitment websites, they like to post jobs on their own personal websites as well, and more so often. So it's really good to keep kind of note of places you might be interested in, so you can go to their specific websites. They sometimes place more jobs on their own websites other than that, but definitely networking is a big, big thing. And I think staying in good relations with past previous jobs is always a great thing too, because if you keep, say, your coworkers from the past or even the present close to you, they might also know opportunities that may open up later on in time, and that could help you when you are searching for a job.
Great. Thanks, Shelby.
I'd like to offer
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, you go ahead, Tabitha. I've spoken a few times.
But I definitely agree with Shelby. I do a similar kind of thing, just like browse to see kind of what's out there, or I guess maybe new jobs that are, I guess, up and coming, or just like the different trends, and just to always keep your options open kind of thing, and just to see what's out there. But I would also definitely recommend, if possible, keep in touch with your professors, or like your old professors and stuff like that from Mohawk, or even
And your young professors too.
yes. But just keep in touch, even those students that you worked with in the lab or just anything, just keeping those connections really helps you in the long run. Just like Shelby said, it's just basically about getting your name and your voice out there as much as you can.
So I'd like to tell you guys about an interesting tactic that actually has worked very well for me in the past. Okay, so there are a lot of firms that do recruiting on behalf of companies, right? They're called headhunters. So when you're looking for jobs, you're going to notice that you're not applying directly to that job. Save that contact information. Send that person a personalized email with your resume and the type of job that you're looking for. When they have a job that comes across their desk that matches your skill set, they'll contact you. So if you go out and you hit a few of them with emails, you might be very pleasantly surprised with some of the responses that you get, because these folks are paid to fill these jobs. And if you make it easy for them to recruit, they're going to gravitate towards you.
That is great advice. Thanks, Samantha. I really like that.
I would have to say, like with COVID and everything that's gone on, I've actually been contacted a few times, and I always ask those people, where did you find my information? And they would say, like, I would say 2 out of 3 will say LinkedIn, because they like the visual. They like and LinkedIn actually asks you to fill out certificates that you have, your history, the other skills that you've done, like whether it's volunteering or anything like that. And that gives more of a whole picture of who you are instead of a resume that talks about what you do. So that's the big difference, right? Like if they see a whole picture that you cannot fit on 2 pages, you know, because usually they say, put your resume down to 2 pages and that's it, stop, you know? So.
Excellent, thank you. So I'm going to move to the next question, just in, like, you are sharing amazing advice, but just so we can sort of talk to some points for students about graduating. So I have an interesting question here for you. What is the one piece of advice or knowledge that you wish you had known when you graduated from Mohawk?
I can start that one. So I graduated at the height of the pandemic, unfortunately, which is not ideal. If I would have had a piece of advice for myself, it would have been having a plan is really important, but understanding that plans change is also very important. And your new plan isn't necessarily going to be worse than your old plan. You really have to adapt to what's going on in the world. There's things that are not in your control. Even if you plan everything perfectly, things are going to change. But for me, having a backup plan was really important. I'm not from Hamilton or anywhere in that area, and I do not have any family there. So a huge decision for me when that happened, when the pandemic happened and I graduated, the job that I was sort of anticipating hiring was frozen. So I had to decide whether I was going to stick it out or move back home. And if you make a decision to stick with it and do what you can to make it happen.
Definitely going off of what Holly said, I think definitely also understanding that it's very, very rare that you get your dream job first. You don't necessarily come out of graduation and you get that job you've been wanting your whole entire life. You kind of need to keep your options open, keep your mind open, allow yourself to enjoy maybe the hard, not so fun jobs at the beginning, and build until you finally do maybe get that one job you've always wanted. And even when you do get that one job you've always wanted, sometimes that might not be the exact picture you painted for yourself. It might be something that you thought was going to be amazing and it turned out not to be for you. So I think, yeah, definitely what Holly said is plans do change, and be ready to adapt to it, and don't get discouraged when you're not getting exactly what you had planned out in your head, and don't get discouraged when you don't get that exact dream job you wanted since you were younger.
Don't be afraid to start from the bottom of the pole.
Yeah.
Like you actually will gain more experience and knowledge as you maneuver yourself up the ladder. And I mean, I did that. Like I started as just a chemical tech, you know, and then slowly you move up and you become in a supervisory role, and then eventually to a manager. But the only reason why you were able to do that is because you've worked at the different levels that you wouldn't have had if you jumped to that one job, and then you don't work your way up kind of thing.
Or even to piggyback off that, I think also be open to different opportunities. I think when I was first looking at jobs, when I first graduated and was about to graduate, I was looking for such specific jobs. And it wasn't until I kind of took the blinders off and opened my horizon a little bit more that I found a lot more different opportunities that maybe wasn't the number one option that I initially thought that I wanted, but it actually turns out that I absolutely love what I'm doing. So be open to different things. And like Shelby and Holly said, plans and things do change.
Mhm.
Yep. For me is like have measurable goals and learn to be flexible, right? Having goals for a future, it is a great way to stay motivated. But however, don't be too hard on yourself if you don't get that promotion, etc. It takes time to really understand the ins and outs of a company. And I mean, once you understand that piece of puzzle, then you know what? You can become a more intent contributor, right? So for me, it's like just be patient and then just remember that every company is different. And in some companies, what might take you 3 months to accomplish, in other companies might only take you, let's say, a month, right? So that is basically it.
Usually when you start off on a brand new job, your goal is to work as hard as you can. And the years are going to go by. And then you're going to look back at your life and you're going to realize, I've been a workaholic for the past 5 years, right?
Mhm.
How many can say that happened?
Yep.
I really think that I think that our younger generations are starting to have a better work-life balance. And I think that that's important. You're not replaceable in your own personal life, but you're replaceable in your job life. And so, just be mindful of what you lose by becoming a workaholic and just working all the time. I think it's important for folks to take time to enjoy life and be happy. And if I could share, that's my biggest piece of advice. I think my first 15 years, I just worked. I
Also definitely agree with Samantha there. I do really, really believe in creating a good work-life balance. I think everyone deserves to have a job where they can go to work, do their work, love their work, but come home and be able to shut their mind off and not think about what they left there, what needs to be done, what they did wrong that day. I think everyone deserves to have that shut off time and that time to debrief, so you can start the next workday fresh. And I think a lot of people do end up losing there's a fine line between making work your life and working to create a life. And I think a lot of people do that. You go to work every day hoping to make this money, to buy that house, to do those things that are all the other goals. And in the meantime, you kind of lose everything and work becomes your goal. And people who do that, who do love work and want to create that life for themselves and invest themselves completely in their career, that's not wrong either. But I do think in today's world, it is definitely important to check in, make sure you're doing good in your personal life, because work isn't absolutely everything. So I do 100% agree with that, Samantha.
Yep. Just to add for 1 second what Samantha and Shelby said. In terms of work, one of the biggest surprise that I got, honestly, in the working world was you end up working for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and then you actually look back and ask yourself, you know what? All this money I made, which part did it go, right? And I'm not sure if everyone could really attest to that, but for me, one of the biggest thing really for for like a new graduate getting into the working world is you have to take the time to learn how to save, and you have to take the time to learn how to invest, because nowadays all these companies, they are putting all the retirement saving planning on the employees. So we are right. So for me, the quicker you guys could learn how to invest and how to save, you will definitely be on a much better path for the future.
Thank you. That was a very interesting comment to end with. I like that. Thanks. All of the comments were amazing and really good advice moving forward for our graduates. Thank you so much from the behalf of Mohawk College and the students and myself for coming in today and sharing your advice on graduating and finding your job and staying in the field and enlightening us on all the trends and how to carry ourselves moving forward, especially with everything with COVID. You were just a wealth of knowledge and you shared some great perspectives. Thank you so much. I know the students and I very much appreciated it.